Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Catherine Kelly. And as we are on this topic of karmic relationships, I want to add another metaphor. I want to add another idea of why it is that souls come together. Now, in another video, I talked about the karmic relationships in terms of the very complex kind of dynamics of why we come together. In this video, I want to talk about why is it specifically that the universe creates a way for these souls to really come together. So I'm going to be bringing magnets into this conversation because I love to bring tangible objects, for examples, into situations to help you understand the soul. Because not only do visual cues help, but that whole metaphorical kind of explanation really helps to deepen your understanding. And the soul is really quite a simple thing, but we make it complex because we're not taught about it. We're not really taught to understand it. But this is one of the best metaphors that I have used for years to help people understand why is it that souls come together? Why is it that you're drawn or attracted to a certain person? So take, for instance, someone, and I'm going to say this is a love relationship first. Thinking about a love relationship, when we are drawn to someone, we have this magnetic draw toward them. We just, can't get enough. We feel so elated that we're with them. We feel so drawn or attracted that basically it just comes together. It's a very quick process. It's a very intense process. A lot of times you are so drawn to that person, you think, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever, best thing ever. And then not too long after that, things kind of go awry. Now, I want to help you understand this whole dynamic. So the universe had to create some sort of magnetic energy, some sort of way for souls to come together to learn whatever it is they're supposed to learn, either in those romantic relationships, maybe it's a friendship, maybe it's sort of a collegial kind of thing. Whatever it might be, the universe had to create a way for souls to come together so that they can learn what they're supposed to learn. Now, what are they supposed to learn? Now, it could be about that particular type of relationship. Maybe there are patterns that need to be outgrown from previous similar kinds of relationships. Maybe it's a pattern that they need to outgrow from their childhood, but they were drawn together with someone who has a very familiar dynamic that was exhibited in their family. Maybe it is a karmic contract that you're supposed to complete. And a karmic contract, which I'll do another video some other time on this more completely, but a karmic contract is literally some sort of soul agreement that you have with someone that you're supposed to complete in a lifetime. And the only way you can complete it is if you come together as souls. So it could be a karmic contract. It could be basically regrouping or healing from past life trauma. It could be something that happened in 3 lifetimes ago between you and that other soul that needs completion. It could be that basically you're supposed to learn self-love. Maybe it is, and maybe it is that is coming together. You're supposed to learn to love yourself more, regardless of what this other soul is doing to you or around you. And that is something about relationships that I'm dead set on, that I think that our relationships are more about learning self-love than they are learning how to love the other person more, because we are here to learn and evolve as souls individually, above and beyond, learning to grow and evolve with that person. It doesn't mean we don't learn lessons from them, and I'm going to explain that in a moment. Maybe these karmic connections are coming together so other souls can come into the world. Maybe that contract that you have with that person is to bring other souls in that need to be here to fulfill some sort of particular purpose. So it could be your offspring that you're coming together for. It could be that as soon as you were done having kids, you were kind of done with the relationship. It could be that there's some other situation that is supposed to be happening in that dynamic of why it is that you were brought together, why it is that you're so drawn to that person. So I'm going to give you a couple different rules to think about. So the stronger the pull toward a person, usually the bigger the lessons. So if you are in a relationship with someone and you have a very hard time peeling yourself away from them, it's probably because there are some pretty big lessons. If the relationship comes together very fast, you get married very quickly, you get paired very quickly, it's oftentimes because there are big lessons to learn. So again, the bigger the pull, the magnetic pull to someone, oftentimes the bigger the lesson. Maybe, these magnetic poles are coming together because you're supposed to wrestle with something that basically is a life lesson. Now, I'm going to again visually show you this that, this is coming together very quickly. However, and I'm going to talk through this in a minute a little bit more clearly and fully, but if you flip that magnet, what happens? You cannot force that thing to come together at all. So this is about as close as I can get before it starts to slip off. The energy between you and that other soul is not meant to come together. So you might have been drawn, but then it might have flipped in a way that basically, again, there is no completion. There's not anything that you're supposed to do within that relationship. Now, that still means that there are lessons to learn, and it's almost like the universe put on the brakes so you couldn't get there. But it's all about you stepping back and going, wow, I was really drawn to this person, really thinking it was this wonderful thing. It was pulling me together, and then boom, it slipped. What does that mean? So there are all kinds of different reasons why these souls come together. There's all these different attractions. There's all these different reasons why two souls come together. And it's all about keeping enough perspective, keeping enough distance from it, so that in the midst of that really delicious feeling of getting connected with someone, that you keep your head on your shoulders and you realize, wow, what are the lessons here? What am I supposed to learn? What is this karmic kind of thing all about? Because, and I'm going to explain this more fully now. So here's how relationships work. We tend to have this magnetic draw toward these relationships. We bond, we get together. Sometimes we have children with other souls. Sometimes we build houses or we build businesses or whatever it might be. And then one or more of those magnets starts to flip. Now, that could be for a number of reasons. It could be that maybe they've already outgrown whatever the situation was that relationship brought them together to experience. Maybe it's that, okay, there's some old wounds there that are keeping those two from really being close. And no matter how one tries, if the other one has wounds that won't let them get close, it's going to flip. It's going to, again, I'm trying to push this together, but it slips off of it. It slips off of the center. You cannot do it. What happens if souls come together and then they flip, and then basically a little bit later they come back together? Well, that probably means that there's more to learn, or there's another layer or level of that old wound or that old lesson that still needs to be examined. Because I'll tell you, now this is one of those things where one set of my grandparents got married, got divorced, got married, got divorced, and then still hung out together. So in their case, they were drawn together. One or more of the magnets flipped. I really don't know what happened in that relationship. We can make all kinds of assumptions, but it pushed itself apart. They went away. They got back together. It flipped again to the point where they couldn't stay together. They moved apart, and then somehow they decided to mingle but not get married. And I really don't know what the nature of their relationship was after that, but it was a much more peaceful kind of thing. Now, they did move to completely different states, and so it wasn't, they were congenial toward each other as far as I know, but it really wasn't one of those things that was bonded after that. So you have lots of different dynamics of when those magnets come together, why they come together, what you're supposed to learn, what you're supposed to evolve beyond. I want to add this because I don't want to forget this. So at the point that basically you come together and then one or more of the magnets flips, what ends up happening in the human condition is that we often do everything possible. We can burn ourselves out with this. We can abuse ourselves because we're trying so hard to make something work that's just not meant to work. And it keeps slipping off of the other, magnetic pole. It just is not going to come together in a sustainable way. Now, if those souls decide, okay, we have got to separate, this isn't working, we're pushing off of each other, that does mean that the experiences that you were supposed to have with that soul are complete. That does not mean that you're done learning from the dynamics of those relationship situations. even after you have separated, because there's oftentimes more learning in retrospect about what a relationship was about than when you're actually in the middle of that relationship. So this whole magnet metaphor can go a long way to help you understand, okay, why is it that I got divorced? Why is it that I got separated? Why is it that I was so drawn to this person, but then it would not come together, no matter what you did? So there are so many different ways to look at this. The other thing to think about is that oftentimes those karmic contracts are complete at the time that, okay, if you slipped off that connection point and you just can't get it reconnected. Like I said before, that could be that you've had the children you were supposed to bring into the world, but that the karmic connection is complete. It could mean, and I think about this from a death perspective. Say, for instance, maybe you're so drawn to a particular person, but one or the other gets sick or passes away or something, and then there's no more karmic connection. Well, let me say this: there's no more human connection, but the karmic connection is still there. What happens when we still feel this very strong karmic connection with someone, even though they're not in our lives? It's the energy between those souls that is still present. So you could be 3,000 miles away and still feel karmically connected with that person, even if you don't know what's going on in their lifetime. On the other hand, you might be in a situation where people expect you to have some sort of relationship, whether it's with a family member, whether it's with an ex-husband or an ex-wife, or a child even. And no matter what you do, you can't make it work. Well, instead of trying to force that to work, sometimes you need to let it flip. And you need to then step back and examine, okay, what is this really about? What am I supposed to learn? What am I supposed to grow beyond? Oftentimes at that point, you have to look at what was the connection at one point, and also what was the past life kind of thing that is still unfinished that's keeping us apart. So, I have a client right now who um, middle-aged woman. She has a teenage son, and she's trying to figure out what the heck. This relationship is very, very challenging. And so I've been helping her understand and kind of tease apart the past life dynamics that she had with this person that are basically keeping this in a very oppositional kind of situation. Now, the situation, unfortunately, would be that both of those souls in this lifetime would have to figure out how to amend the past lifetime in order for this lifetime to come together. I've had this in my own life. I've had family members that, really, people would call it oil and water, but that no matter what, it would not work. I've had, ex-husband. There's no way that could have worked no matter what. But again, I learned what I was supposed to learn, and there was no more interaction that needed to happen for me to learn what I was supposed to learn. So when you think about how you were magnetically drawn to someone, it will help you understand, wow, that was a karmic kind of thing. That was a universal kind of karmic reaction that brought you together as souls. But basically, at the point that you were done experiencing whatever you're supposed to experience with that soul, it slipped off. It just would not work, would not go together. You may or may not ever have that opportunity in this lifetime to make something come back together, but it may not be about that. No matter how drawn you are to that person, it might be more about what you're supposed to learn as a result of having been with that soul or experienced that time with that soul that will help resolve the discomfort of not being together and not having that connection. So I do this work a lot. I help people resolve those kinds of very confusing relationships that just will not fit together. And I help them understand them from a soul healing perspective to help them rise above it and evolve beyond it and basically let go of that need to try to reconnect when in fact it's just not supposed to be there. It's supposed to really wasn't supposed to be. And that's where I talk about the right time, the right place, and the right circumstances. There are times in a person's life where they feel like they are supposed to be connected with a person. They get obsessed with them. They get kind of torn up about why they are not with this person. or this situation. And yet, any of that discomfort that you have is really there to make you step back and examine what it is about that magnetic draw that you're supposed to be learning about so that you can evolve beyond it. And again, this is another form of conscious evolution, taking yourself back far enough to examine the situation and go deeply enough, oftentimes into the soul realm, in order to understand what that magnetic draw is all about. Because it will drive you a bit batty if you don't figure out what it is. And helping you resolve that will make all the difference in the world. Now, I want to bring in another part of this as far as why, and I'm going to flip this magnet again. Why is it that certain people can't get back together? You might have been close at one point in your life, and then, wow, either something happened or it just evolved, and there's nothing you can do. Or you feel so repelled by that person that there's no way you even want to get anywhere close to it. And what that is about, again, is resolving that karmic kind of thing. Now, in my own life, I have had some sticky situations with a family member. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And so I did some past life work, and I saw that this sibling actually had me killed in a past life, actually more than one past life, for various reasons, and basically jealousy, insecurity, things like that. And one of the things that was so healing for me was understanding what that dynamic was and why things were playing out the way they were in this lifetime. And it actually brought a lot of peace. I help other people do this as well. I've had many people come to me asking, can you help me understand my dynamic with this person or that person? And oftentimes there is some sort of abandonment, there's some sort of tragedy, there's some sort of murder, there's some sort of betrayal in a previous life. And once they understand it from the previous lifetime, they will be able to understand in this lifetime why things have unfolded the way that they have. And so there's so many applications of this magnet metaphor. And I think the most important things to remember is that when something won't fit, when something has just slipped off of each other, it just will not go together anymore. It's all about the fact that you've already had the experiences that you were supposed to have in order to learn and evolve beyond the situation, but that you're still emotionally attached to that situation or that person. And that's where the true healing comes in, is when you can dig to the bottom of that and realize that relationship wasn't supposed to endure that or sustain. It was basically there to teach you something in a very big way that will help you evolve and help you expand your consciousness later. So play with this magnet metaphor. I would love to hear more questions, thoughts, explanations of your own, or comments, because this is how other people learn. And so if you resonated with this magnet metaphor, let me know what you're thinking, feeling, and we'll go from there. But I hope you have a wonderful day. And again, just use these magnets to help you understand, well, that's why that didn't work out. Now let me examine why and what it is I'm supposed to learn as a result. I hope this is helpful. Have a wonderful day. Again, bringing ancient wisdom to the modern soul to you to help you apply it to everyday life now and help you realize that you can rise above pretty much any situation if you go to that soul level. Have a great day. Bye-bye.